Okay, Chapter 1. Purpose. The pamphlet implements the standard commanders of the Army-wide Hazardous Material Management Program. The purpose of the Hmmp is Hazard Material Management Program. The purpose is to integrate the accountability of hazard material into day-to-day decision-making, planning, operation, compliance with all Army missions, activities, functions on the installation, garrison, depot, standard area, command, and joint force headquarters and regional cluster installation. Pamphlet expands to the HMMP policy contained in the AR 710-2, providing guidance establishing standard centralized management business practices that can be tailored to the account of the different size installation, varied in operational missions. The Army Command of the responsibility for the installation can also provide the guidance for the phased implementation of the Hazard Material Management Program to coincide with the availability of automated management applications and funding. 1. 2. The reference required related publications prescribed in reference forms is listed in Appendix A. Explanations, abbreviation, and terms. Abbreviation terms in the pamphlet are explained in the glossary. 1.4. The Deputy of the Chief of Staff G4 and the Chief of Staff Installation Management initiated the Army HMMP Hazard Material Management Program, recognizing the integrating environmental principles into logistic mission operations created by the operating for the achieving of the efficiency of the economic in addition to meeting the compliance requirements. B. It was anticipated the installation implementing the Hazard Material Management Program to the extent of the possible would find the HMMP Hazard Material Management Program. 1. Helps the commander to protect the human health of the environment throughout the enhanced compliance with the existing laws and regulations. 2. Generates the savings to reduce the hazard material waste or usage, eliminates duplicating tracking information system, minimizes the use of protective clothing, equipment, and special procedures required for the hazard material waste exposure. 3. The support of the tasking imposed in the Executive Order 13423 aids in meeting the regulatory requirements overseas operation covered with the host nation agreements of the final government standards, FGS. Contributing to the safe handling of the hazard material will reduce the potential notice of violations of the monetary fines associated with them, provided that the data showing the status of the location of the HM installation operation requiring for the information realizes the cost and avoidance of saving the both procurement of the hazard material, disposal hazard material, solid waste, adherence to the inherit of the problems with the shelf of explorations, environmental, occupational health, safety, risk, storage requirements, security, disposal, liability, tracking, and reporting requirements. 1.5. Army installation procuring the significant quantities of the HM generated large amounts of the hazardous waste past and business practices often result in much purchasing more hazardous material than is needed for the nearest term requirements within the term results in the excess quantities of material disposed of the expired shelf life in deteriorated containers. The hazardous waste contributes to the landfill's problems and results in additional disposal costs. Consistent with the executive orders emerging from the Department of Defense, Army sustainability guidance documentation is made to improve the hazardous material and hazardous waste control, establish mandatory reduction goals. But B, a new emerging legislation of the EOs and the Code Federal regulations have increased the installation reporting requirements similar to the emerging the final governing standards, has increased control in foreign station Army units. The requirements impact the current accepted operational logistic missions. Hazardous Material Management Program currently exists in many installation overseas installations and overseas organizations. Previous Army guidance suggested that the adoption of 8 business practices used the hazardous substance management system software, but it did not make the approach mandatory. A review of the installation of the Hazardous Material Management Program revealed that the operational concept and the business practices data conventions varied widely. There were no Army metrics to measure the success of the program to generate the required standard at an individual status achieved the varying levels of success. Furthermore, the lack of standardization limited the success of implementing supply chain integration, sustainability of goals and objectives. Soldiers transferring between installations had to be retrained and different local procedures. 1.6. The core objective is to improve logistics, operational missions performance, and controlling, reducing acquisition, using, handling, disposal, hazard material, and generation hazardous waste. This is our Army supply chain integration and sustainability objectives. To support the primary objective, the Deputy Chief of Staff intends to integrate the hazard material management program procedures in single Army logistic enterprise to eliminate stovepipe automation systems that dual data entry. 1.7. The scope. The document is applicable to both the continental United States and the outside of the continental United States. OCONUS. Continental United States procedures addressed with centralized management, visibility of hazardous material installation depots, regulation clusters, installations that apply to the tactical support activities, providing the hazardous material management in forward stanchions units, military communities. The procedures are intended to assist the OCONUS Army units, facilities in meeting the operational requirements, determine the final government standards established in cooperation with the host of the nations to reduce the eliminating harm of the health environmental from the hazardous managed waste relates to the pollutants to the environment. The hazardous management policy procedures attempt to reduce the risk of pollution and its source. Non-emission environmental industrial health management practices include the review of the process to identify the use of the hazardous material process results in the identification of the training protection facility requirements for the example, the proper storage area, and aid identification of possible material substitutes. Seeing not specifically addressed under the Hazardous Material Management Program scope of munitions, pesticides, asbestos, radiological, and hazardous material used in treatment of the patients of medical facilities and medical protocols at the medical research facilities. These areas are currently addressed in separate programs, however, they are incorporated with the Hazardous Material Management Program doctrine as enterprise and resource planning software capabilities of policies of evolved. D. Facilities not specifically required to have a hazard material management program, but not excluded from voluntary participation, are forward deployed tactical support bases. Least joint use of similar facilities to extent of the Army is not a garrison commander. Army installation, they do not have the minimal potential to affect the natural effect. For example, officers operation primarily administrative, the Army Command headquarters, contracting offices, detached efficient offices, security assistance offices, forwarding buying offices, other similar organizations, Army National Guard, armories, U.S. Army Reserve centers, and unless they are tenant activities on the installation within a hazardous material management program, regional collection of closely located facilities served by a hazardous material management program. 5. Geographically isolated facilities which make participation in the hazardous material management program impractical or cost efficient. 6. Medical facilities such as hospitals, medical, dental, and veterinary clinics, medical research facilities, except for those directed to participate in the Surgeon General Commission exchange of the retail tenant activities in the Army installation and reporting purchases, inventory, operations, maintenance, determine the installation commander. Non-appropriated funds installation except for the hazardous material purchase inventory used in the operation maintenance processes determine the installation commander. Army activities at joint base will follow the hazardous material requirement established by the lead military service at the command of the base. The hazardous material participants will govern their terms of the contract where the possible within an established hazardous material contract written for require the contract reports to the HMS brought on to from the consumed installation of the measured facilities required to the report the hazardous materials under Title 42 U.S. Standard Code, Chapter 11, 116. Chapter 2, Procedures.